It was a little over a week ago when I did a video on the unemployment claims being 26.4 million. Now it is officially 30 million. They're estimating 3.8 million new claims last week. Woo, it is hard to imagine that it's this high, but saw this coming. I was saying last week it was going to hit 30 million. And here we are. Technically, it's 30.2 million. So this came out on NPR April 30th, 2020. A staggering toll: 30 million have filed for unemployment. Wow. Telephone lines are still jammed at the nation's unemployment offices. Another 3.8 million people filed claims for jobless benefits last week, according to the Labor Department. And I know this may be a tad bit off. I was looking at a couple of articles on Wuhan because China is allegedly in their second phase. Now, China's not telling the truth about a lot of things. And one of the articles that I read said that China never reopened all of the businesses there. They were trying to open at 100%, and they have never achieved that. There are many businesses and restaurants that never reopened from the first wave of the coronavirus. They've been closed for months. And the amount of cases are now rising again in Wuhan. See, China is simply trying to hide their numbers over there. But see, the fact that it's rising again and they're trying to point to the Africans as being responsible. America got a history of doing this. They did it during the Spanish flu, and they're doing it now with coronavirus. Anytime they don't want to take accountability or they know how bad it looks on themselves because they know they dropped the ball, didn't pay attention to this. Trump was too busy calling it a hoax and blaming everything and everyone instead of jumping on this and taking care of it. They know how bad it looks on them. So they're looking to shift the blame and point to somebody else, but there's no pointing to somebody else, especially many of us that are paying attention. We know what's going on. And your best efforts, you won't be able to blame us, but you go right ahead. At the end of the day, the only one that looks bad in the whole thing is you. When I look at the obituaries, I see a whole bunch of white folks that are dead from COVID-19. And you may see a few Black people sprinkled in there the most. So until we see raw numbers, we don't believe you. Same for China. Until we see raw numbers that only Africans over there got coronavirus, we don't believe you. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is some audio that I'm going to play for you.
The telephone lines are still jammed at the nation's unemployment offices. The Labor Department reported this morning that another 3.8 million people filed claims for jobless benefits last week. While that's down from the previous week, this brings us to a new disturbing total. 30 million people have applied for unemployment in this country in the 6 weeks since the coronavirus began. NPR's Scott Horsley joins us now to talk about these numbers. Hey, Scott.
Good morning, Rachel.
Oh, this doesn't get any easier, does it, with each passing week? What do these numbers say?
Rachel, that total of 30 million jobless claims over the last 6 weeks since the pandemic started taking a wrecking ball to the job market, that represents nearly 1 out of 5 people who had a job back in February. So the pandemic has really put a very large crater in the job market. And while initial claims last week were lower than the week before, they weren't a lot lower. We continue to see very high volumes of people filing for unemployment week after week. And that suggests the initial shock from the stay-at-home orders issued more than a month ago now is continuing to ripple out and do broader damage in the economy. It's not just restaurants and retail shops, but other businesses that supply those firms that have now been affected. And then there are sort of unrelated things. Boeing just announced they're going to cut 10% of the company's workforce. Obviously, the steep decline in air travel from the pandemic has just exacerbated Boeing's earlier problems with its troubled 737 MAX jet.
So we're also going to get the overall unemployment rate soon, right? That's not going to look good, is it?
No, we'll get that official number next week, and it's probably going to be higher than anything we've seen since the Great Depression of the 1930s, certainly well above the 10% mark we saw during the worst of the financial crisis. And as bad as that official unemployment number is, it will almost surely understate the depth of the job losses. For one thing, it's based on a survey that was taken a couple of weeks ago, and we've now seen millions more people filing for unemployment since then. What's more, people who are still in lockdown, won't be searching for new jobs. And if you're not actively looking for work, you don't get counted in the headline unemployment number. So we might look at other measures. Just this week, NPR released a new survey along with our partners at PBS NewsHour and Marist College, which found 50% of Americans had either lost jobs or lost working hours as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. So the pain has really been widespread.
And to come after such low unemployment, right? I mean, it's just such an abrupt turnaround.
Yeah, that's right. We've gone from having the lowest jobless rate in half a century to the highest since the Great Depression in the span of 2 months. So there really is some economic whiplash here. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell talked about this yesterday, and he noted once again that the long-running job boom had been really good for workers who are often on the sidelines of the economy, minorities, people with less education. These marginalized workers had finally begun to see some gains.
It is heartbreaking, frankly, to see that all threatened now. All the more need for our urgent response, and also that of Congress, which has been urgent and large, and to do what we can to avoid longer run damage to the economy.
Congress has authorized unemployment benefits that are both more generous and more widely available during this pandemic period. But those expanded federal benefits only run through the end of July, and it's not at all clear we're going to be out of the woods by then.
Right, and there were so many problems with people, phone lines being one of them. They just couldn't get through to start the process to get their benefits.
Absolutely. State unemployment offices have just been overwhelmed trying to distribute the regular state benefits, and they're only beginning to distribute these expanded federal benefits. Offices have been adding staff, but they're saddled with antiquated computer systems. The safety net is really stretched thin here. Andy Stetner, who's an expert on unemployment insurance at the Century Foundation, says anyone who spent time talking with displaced workers knows that it's exasperating and confusing between filing and actually getting your unemployment benefit.
NPR's Scott Horsley for us. Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
All right, y'all. Whew. Just imagine this could possibly get even worse. So they're saying, let me make a correction, it's 30.3 million have applied for unemployment in 6 weeks. 6 weeks. And these folks are talking about reopening the country. And the places that are reopened are showing signs of the virus increasing already. And it's most of these places like Florida and Georgia just opened a few days ago. Hasn't even been a full week yet. And the numbers are increasing. So just sit back. It's only going to get worse. But y'all, please tell me what you think. This is unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. And they can't even say the last time it was bad was the 2008 Great Recession, because we've already surpassed that in unemployment. You can't even say the Great Depression because we're past even the numbers for unemployment for the Great Depression. We're not coming out of this thing without another depression. And people of this era has never lived through a depression. And you already see how they're hoarding things and panic shopping. It's going to get far worse than that. There wouldn't be shortages if it wasn't for the hoarders. So we may be seeing a whole new rash of hoarding after this, especially as these places will have to shut down again. It's going to happen, y'all. It is no avoiding it. It's going to happen. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.